Welcome to Wisdom Talk Radio, a collaborative community of explorers in conscious living. Welcome to today's episode of Wisdom Talk Radio. This is where we explore the depths of conscious living and what it truly means to live an expanded life. Join us to be inspired, encouraged, transformed, and to tap into a deeper sense of joy and of possibility. They seem to be related. You know, when I'm allowing my own sense of possibility, there is a feeling of joy with that. Inner peace is often so elusive that it can feel impossible to attain. Is it something to be reached for, to be created, perhaps to be allowed for and received? Often it is those things that we have not addressed in ourselves that keep us from feeling a sense of inner flow. I'll be exploring this and probably so much more with my guest today, who has deep expertise in helping people come to this new place. I'm Laurie Seymour, host of Wisdom Talk Radio and CEO and founder of the Baca Institute, home of the quantum connection process. You can go over to the Baca Institute to discover more about your own unique connection with the essence of who you are by taking the quantum connection quiz. And I call it quantum connection because we are each designed to connect directly with source, in our own unique way, in our own way that is our own archetypal style that allows us or opens a deeper connection with who you are and the universe. It's the secret to creating what you want, what you truly want in your deepest self, in your deepest heart in your life. Because who you are is exactly who is needed. So, my guest today is Gurds Hundal, who is a trauma coach and inner work expert with more than a decade of experience. She is the host of the Inner Light Project podcast, the founder of Infinite Trust Method, I love that, and Rise Up Sister coaching programs. She is a messenger to remind us that we all have the ability to heal from within and lead a happier, healthier, and peaceful life. Welcome, Gurds, to Wisdom Talk Radio. I am really excited about our conversation today because we had such an amazing one when I was on your show recently.
God bless you. Thank you for having me. And yeah, that conversation was so powerful. And I remember leaving thinking, gosh, what a beautiful union of two human beings just having a deep, inspirational conversation that I didn't even know that was possible that day.
Yeah, exactly.
But no, honestly, I want to say thank you for that. It was very powerful. And I left feeling it all like I have another sister. And it just, it was such a beautiful connection. So yeah, thank you for having me.
Well, I'm so without belaboring whatever went before, you talk about inner peace as the new rich. I've never heard anyone say that or, even indicate that. So I'm so intrigued. I feel the truth of that. And yet to hear about that from you and why you speak about it that way.
Well, I feel that we've spent centuries of chasing wealth, and wealth isn't a bad thing. It's a beautiful thing. Wealth is actually spiritual. If you look at the history, I don't really go on too much into like religion, but if you look at the history, even like religion, what did Jesus have? Gold, silver, myrrh. Every religion has had their powerful gods, goddesses in gold, in wealth, in joy, in peace. There is no shame about having money and abundance. So the way I kind of see it is that you can create that wealth, but if you don't have the peace, what's the point of the wealth? You'll forever be chasing the wealth. And I've seen it within family members, extended people. I've seen it like being at events and so many different people. And they look on paper great.
Hmm.
They're happy with how much money they've made, but until inside they're a mess.
Yeah.
They don't have the balance, they don't have the joy, they don't know how to appreciate themselves or what they've created, and there's just this hunger for more success. But the more you have hunger for success, when do you let your soul just be peaceful and be happy and be present?
Mm-hmm.
And I spent my whole life, like even from a young age, like I need to be successful. I need to become, I'm a former journalist. I was like, I need to be the top journalist. I need to do this, and I was chasing for this success. I need more money. I need, it was constantly on this rat race
Hmm.
of success. But inside, I was a hot mess. I was terrible. I was upset. I was lonely. I was ashamed. I was heartbroken. I had no peace, and I was always searching peace externally,
Hmm.
searching through others, like, oh, if I have this, then I'll feel better. Oh, if I help more people this way, then I'll feel better. But when I created the peace from within, when I help now, it's a completely different energy. It feels like a place of just peace and joy. And so I really believe that all of us can attain inner peace, but it's doing the deepest work. It's going from within, it's meeting yourself, it's coming back home to yourself,
Mm.
almost like exposing yourself of, your fears and your worries and your doubts and saying, this is who I truly am, and it's okay. And I think when you're at that level, then success feels so much different.
So I want to ask you about that. I want you to talk more
Yeah.
about that and about what that means to do that kind of work, to come home to oneself. But before I do it, because I don't want to lose this,
Yeah.
I'm struck that you said um, that search or that desire for more and more and more and more. And I realized, and why it struck me is that I often speak about the people that I work with or the people that come to me who know there is more and who have a real feeling for that sense of more. And then I realized what I have never done is to contrast that sense of moreness of the outside more, with the inside more.
Yeah. Because the inside is peace. Externally, there's validation. We're searching for other things. Society, from the moment we're born, society's telling us how to be.
Hmm.
Culture's telling us how to be. Family are trying to tell us how to be. Our ancestors were in a way. There's all these layers placed on us, and we're just this little child that just wants to be free.
Hmm.
And we have that peace, we're running around, being silly, dancing around, going la 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 la. And then some elder goes, don't do that because this is bad, or don't do this and don't do that. So then we suddenly lose that identity of self, which is the inner peace.
Mm.
And
Well,
we
say that
give that,
the identity of self is the inner peace.
yes.
Wow.
But then what was I going to say?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it's okay. Yeah, so the identity of self is inner peace. And then we give that validation away
Oh.
because other people then say you must become this way. So then suddenly we don't focus on ourselves, we then focus on the external validation. But the validation was within us already, but we've now given our power away because other people have told us how we need to become, act, and think. And before we
Ah.
know it, we're in our mid 30s or 20s or 40s, and we're having like a midlife crisis, and we don't know
Hmm.
who we are anymore because we've spent so many years chasing for something that we don't
Hmm.
actually know who we truly are,
So
right?
how is it that you work with people or recommend to people that they can start making that shift from looking for that external validation to discovery?
It's to start to write and talk to yourself. How often do we talk to ourselves? How often do we sit and connect with ourselves and ask ourselves the question, what do I need right now?
Yeah.
How am I feeling? Why am I feeling this way? Who is making me angry? What is causing me to feel this emotion? That's when we start to connect to ourselves. And
Hmm.
when I say connect to ourselves, I'm talking more about the inner child. We all have this inner child who is this beautiful light, but we've forgotten who that inner child is. Because again, society is like, shut it down. So
Hmm.
whether you're a boy or a woman, like, he or she suddenly shuts down and stops speaking its truth and it's just hiding. But when the layers are peeled off and you kind of peel off all those generational layers, like, the maternal side, the paternal side, the cultural aspect, the societal aspects, then you're able to start to meet yourself. People going about self-love and do this, do that, but you can't really meet self-love until you peel off those layers. That's when you do the self-love. Then you can't hold boundaries fully. And a lot of people struggle with boundaries because again, you haven't peeled off all those layers. Because we've got to have the self-love, the boundaries, then we can meet our inner child, because then we feel finally safe to meet her or him, that we're able to then talk and say, hey, what do you want? And she's like, I want to go play. I want to dance. Okay, cool. Let's go do that. Or I want to create a book. Or I want to do that. They're always there to guide you, but we've forgotten that voice because, again, the inner peace we've kind of like replaced it with external validation. How can she talk to you?
Yeah.
If you've shut her down for so many years. So what I do is with clients, it's very deep work that I do, but we literally almost like expose who you are. We look at the familial side, why you are the way you are. We look at mum's side, we look at dad's side. What were the mother, what was mum's mum like? What was dad's mum's like? What do you know about their grandparents? What was your grandma like? What was your granddad like? What did they grow up? And then we start to peel off those layers. Then we go into the cultural and all the other areas, but we're not literally talking about it. We're peeling it from the root. Nobody talks about the root cause. A lot of people go to therapy and go, this happened with my dad or this happened to my mum, and they go back and repeat the same thing for years. But you've got to really pull the root. And usually it's not just you that is suffering. So, for example, how can I put it? You might have years of repressed anger. Now, you've always thought it was when you were just young, but it turns out your mum had it, your grandma had it, your great grandma had it.
So we're talking about those familial patterns.
Yes.
And maybe just calling them patterns, because they're not always trauma, so to speak. And I think we get caught up in that word a lot. And I know I have trouble with it, but separate from what I have trouble with the word.
But the thing is,
it is just a pattern, really. And that doesn't diminish it. It's to say, look at the patterns.
Yeah, it's literally meeting your patterns and facing them, going, say, okay, this happened. I can't change what happened to my ancestors.
Right.
What I can change is the narrative moving forward for myself and the next generation.
Yes.
So it's looking at those and exposing them, healing them. Then we can go to the cultural aspect. Then we can look at the sciencey aspect. Why was I a good girl? Why was I a people pleaser? Oh, well, that happened because so-and-so told me to do that. Or that happened in my job. So it's healing all the wounds that we've been holding on to for so long. And I don't think trauma is a bad word. I think in recent years it's exploded, this term of trauma, and anything and everything is trauma right now. However, everyone does go through trauma. Like I have to admit, like it's not, a lot of people think, oh, it's a certain particular type of society that goes through trauma, but even people that have been wealthy and you think has a good life, they've got trauma as well, but it's not the way people are making it out to, if that makes sense. Like it's really
yeah. So that's what I'd love to expand the definition, or I mean, for me, I'd like to find a different word, but
but it's just patterns holding you back. What are your patterns? What are holding you back? How can you let go of those patterns? How can you get to the root cause of your suffering? That is literally it. It's the suffering. How can we alleviate the suffering? How can we heal the suffering? That is what I would see it as.
Okay. And taking then the idea of the inner child, because again, that's one of those places where I go, what about the inner genius, the inner self that hasn't been acknowledged, that we haven't come to? It's not a child self anymore, but it's me as this shiny adult, and allowing that.
That's still the inner child.
Okay. Yeah, okay.
Because
Why do you call it child?
Because that's a little one that lives within you from such a young age. That's the one that was free at one point. And then suddenly society has defined you as this external thing. I don't know how to put it into words. The best, if you talk to yourself right now and say, what do you need? Do you hear an adult voice or do you hear a little voice?
I absolutely hear an adult voice. I actually hear higher self.
Do you hear a voice go, oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So my dialogues are about that.
Yeah. Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
It's that dialogue with the inner self. Because
I see what you're saying now.
Yeah, it's that. So that I'm wanting to connect with that which I don't already know. That which lies in the unknown, and bring it into the place that's known. Does that make sense? Or does that distinction?
Yeah. I just want to say that the inner child isn't just like fully wounded. She is joyful. She's full of love. She's full of the inner child.
Yes.
She's full of joy and love. There's all those areas. But you do have a higher self, but it's all still connected. All you, higher self, and your inner child, you're all interconnected.
yeah, to try and make arbitrary distinctions or boundaries between them doesn't even make any sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. You're absolutely right.
You
Yeah.
just have to flow with them both because the inner child will tell you what's upsetting you. Higher source will say this is way to guide you.
hmm
I think
hmm
that's probably the best way of putting it. She will
That's
say
it.
what,
Okay.
yeah, she will tell you what the issue is, and then higher source will guide you to say, okay, do this. But she's like, if you ask her what's wrong with you, she'll go, well, this made me upset. Okay, why are you upset? Well, this happened because of this happened. Okay, higher self, what can I do to change that? Well, you need to do this, this, and this.
Okay.
They're
Okay.
merging together.
Talk about that merging together. How do you see that as you move forward in the work with people? I'm I'm knowing, I don't even want to say assuming or guessing that happens for you in the work, in your
Oh,
work.
100%. Oh, 100%. So when we peel off the layers, so all like I was saying, like even the good girl, the people pleaser, the generational trauma, they're able to then love who they are. Then they're able to hold the boundaries. And then when they meet their inner child,
Mhm.
we kind of meet her and we ask her what her needs are. And her needs were like something when they were really young. And they go do that. And then they
Mhm.
feel at peace with that. And then they talk to her quite
Mhm.
often, like, what do you need right now? And she tells them, okay, well, I need this. This is what I need.
Mhm.
And then higher source does connect with them anyway and shows them, like, you need a boundary with so and so, and you need to do this with so and
Mhm.
so. But that only happens when we peel off those layers because then we're able to hear that voice. We're able to connect with her deeper as well.
Mhm.
But it's
Mhm.
very hard to hear those things, the voice, and to hear her because we've got too many layers on top of us that are holding us back from hearing that noise. And especially as women, if you look back to the history of women, women were very intuitive. You know,
Mhm.
women held the councils generational, well,
Yes.
centuries back. And then some little patriarchal man came in and got upset and, you know, started crying
Interrupted that
that,
whole thing.
yeah, and then said that we were suddenly the problem and anyone with intuition was a witch, you know, and all these other layers, and a woman who spoke loudly was a bad woman. So there's generational of wounds within a lot of our lineages as women of
Mhm.
being afraid to speak our truth and to trust in ourselves. So it's a peeling off those layers as well, which then makes it easier to have that voice, hear that inner connection, and able to validate her in a way.
You used the word trust a few moments ago,
Yeah.
and I talk about trust a lot because it is, how do we trust ourselves? How do we learn how to trust ourselves? And I think what I usually am meaning in that is, how do I trust that inner voice of guidance? How do I
Mm.
allow myself to surrender to that? Because it's got such a big picture and it could seem a little scary to the personality or to the personal self that says, wait a minute, I just want to stay with how things have been.
Yeah. But I feel like you know, like I said, oh, you need to do the deepest work. Yes, do the deepest work. How you still can listen to source. You know, I was sat, you know, at 20, I always forget, it's like just before my birthday, but it was like 24, 25.
Yeah.
And I was in the hospital waiting for some cancer scare results, and I was feeling sorry for myself. I look around the room, there's nobody, and I'm waiting in this waiting room. And, you know, when you go through that journey, you think, what have I done to deserve this?
Mhm.
I hear a voice saying, you created this. Now I'm looking around the room, there's nobody there.
Mhm.
I'm thinking I'm going crazy, but obviously that was Source telling me, going, hello, you created this. We're here now.
Mhm.
And I went into the doctor's room and everything was fine. They'd misdiagnosed me. And I ran out the hospital and I heard the words, it's time to heal.
Mhm.
Again, that was the divine talking to me saying, we've
Mhm.
got to make a change. But again, I wasn't able to connect as deeply as I do now when until I peeled off the layers. Like
Mhm.
divine's
Mhm.
still talking to us, but it gets stronger as we peel off the layers. So
See, I usually say that it gets stronger the more we learn how to trust. So, but maybe
so
that's
yeah,
really saying the same thing.
it's the same
Um,
thing because you have to peel to trust. Do you know, you're peeling off the layers. That means you're trusting yourself to peel off the layers to come home to self.
yeah.
You wouldn't peel off the layers
I,
if you didn't trust yourself.
well, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
I guess I don't usually see it as peeling off layers. I'm just trying to think about that
Yeah.
because I sometimes see in a moment things can shift, that pattern can shift. It's not like there's needing to be some deep processing of it. So it sounds
Mm.
like you're talking a lot though about bringing awareness to the layers. Does that make sense? Is that
Yes.
true?
Yeah. It is awareness because the moment you become aware, then you're able to trust yourself because you're like, oh, now I know why I am. So now I can
Mhm.
trust myself more. So what that person said was actually not true, but it was because
Yes.
of this, how I was feeling this. And now I trust in me versus what
Hmm.
they're saying.
Hmm. Hmm.
We're no longer, taking external, opinions. We're trusting in ourselves more.
Yes.
But it's very hard to trust, like I was going back to when I was saying about the women, to trust
Mhm.
ourselves when we've been disconnected so much from ourselves. You
And
know,
that has been by design.
yes, yeah, yeah. If I remember looking at my mum's generation, like, the shoulder pads era and oh my God, like, trying to be a man and act like that. And, we were about, like, even my generation, it was about proving a point, like we can do everything. But again, who are we trying to prove a point to? It wasn't to ourselves.
Right, right. And not only who we're trying to prove the point to, but we lose something in that process of trying to be something other than who we are.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean like being too big for your britches. It doesn't mean um, you can't compete in a man's world. It doesn't mean any of that. It has to do with, well, what are your strengths? What are your values? What do you really, what lights you up and brings you into the world, into that state of aliveness? And it
Oh
may
my,
be that, it may be playing in all of those arenas.
yeah.
Great. But don't do it because of some external validation, is kind of what I hear you saying.
Yeah, because God, universe, how whatever you want to call it, higher power created you how you are for a reason. Now,
Hmm.
if you wanted us to be the same, we'd all be the same, but that would be boring.
Yeah.
Like, there's a reason why we have our quirks, our uniqueness, and that's our gifts into the world, and that's what we need to hear. Like, I
Yeah.
didn't realize what my gift was, but it was always there. From a
Ah.
young age, people would come to me with their problems at like age of 8. I was listening to older people,
Mm-hmm.
younger people's problems. When I was at university, I worked in a pharmacy. Very strange because it's not linked to journalism, but that's how I am. And people would share their life stories to me as they're handing over their prescriptions.
Hmm.
Strangers, you name it, people, friends, always come to me with their problems. It was always there. I just didn't understand it.
Ah,
And
yes.
then when I looked at my name, as I did the work and I started coaching, I actually looked into my name and I was like, oh my God, it's always been there. So Gurds is actually my nickname. Gurdeep is my first name. It means the lamp of the guru, lamp of the teacher, helping people out of the darkness into the light. Kaur is my middle name, which means princess. Hundal means warrior. So it's helping women to come out of the darkness into their light to be their own warriors. I cannot make that up.
Oh my
That's
goodness.
in my name. So
Oh,
do you know what I mean? Like answers
yeah.
are there for what we're meant to do in our
Hmm.
lifetime,
Hmm.
but we don't always see it so easily.
I think we don't see it to a large extent because
Yeah.
even when we do, we doubt it.
Yes. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we poo-poo, or it's not important, or how could that possibly be? And that place of self-doubt is, well, first of all, it's antithetical to trust.
Yeah.
If I'm doubting that sensing of what my gifts are, and they're right
Mm.
in front of me, and
Yeah.
yet I'm still doubting that sets up such a dichotomy and such a, uh, well, there's no inner peace there.
Exactly. Exactly. And again, what we're chasing for things out externally,
Hmm.
when all we need to do is go from within. I know it's easier said than done, but when we go from within,
Hmm.
then everything is beautiful. That expensive handbag you want doesn't is not as exciting as it was before. But when you do get a nice expensive handbag, it's a different energy. And I can completely
Hmm.
relate to that as I'm saying it to you because in before I call it my old life,
Hmm.
I would buy the expensive handbags and I'd be like, great, what's next? And there'd be no joy after.
Ah,
Whereas now if I buy something expensive, it feels good. It's like, oh, that's nice, but I don't have an attachment to it like I
yeah,
did
but there
before.
still can be a celebration without attachment.
Yes, yeah, yeah. And it doesn't feel like it what kind of word? The word I'm trying to say, define me. It doesn't define me. Like these
Hmm.
these are
Hmm.
just things. And actually in 2012, I actually gave away all my expensive handbags because yeah,
I
I know
wish I
look
had
back a
known
bit
you.
it was a bit crazy when I look back, but I give it away to charity because I just felt this deep disconnection with that version of me at that time,
Mhm.
and I didn't like the energy of it.
Yeah.
It felt like insecure, unworthy, not loving, and those bags were like, oh, this makes me feel loved. Oh,
No, it sounds like it
no,
it it, it personified, and not personified, but it exemplified that discontent,
yeah,
the
yeah.
separation from yourself.
But now it's completely different. I couldn't care less. Oh, that's lovely. That's pretty great. But I love myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And hence the inner peace as the new rich.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. But the thing is, inner peace, a lot of people, like I was saying about, we'll go back to success.
Hmm.
So many people have achieved success, but how many people have achieved inner peace?
Hmm. Hmm. And inner peace doesn't, and you've already said this, but I want to underline it. It doesn't mean lack. It doesn't mean you have to live like a monk.
No,
Doesn't mean that wealth is not, cannot be, or abundance of whatever sort isn't also a part of that.
it's all of
Because
it.
the energy of money is the same kind, the energy of money
Yeah.
is the same kind of frequency, high frequency as love.
Yeah.
And it's there in the physical, but it's what we do with it. If we're striving and expecting and struggling against or struggling for,
Yeah.
that leaves us in such a place of discontent.
Yeah. And also, like, energy is just an exchange of energy for a
Hmm.
service or a product. So, a lot of us have grown up with the shame of money or
Right.
we have to really succeed and push forward and everything's about money. No, because when everything becomes about money, you lose identity of self,
Hmm.
which is that inner peace again as we go back to that.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm often working with people who are knowing that there is something different. They don't
Mm,
quite know yet what it is, but they have some kind of inner sensing of that, of
mm,
there has to be something different because they've started hitting that place where they are uncomfortable, where
mm.
they feel that sense of, well, I'm successful, and so.
But the question is, are you happy from within?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
because they
And
don't feel
that's,
the joy. They feel the, okay, I got my goal. Yay.
yeah.
Ugh.
But then they're still forever chasing because there's nothing that will satisfy them from within.
Right. Well, because they're just keep looking outside.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And doing the deepest work from within is going to be your biggest blessing
Mm.
because you get to really meet who God, universe, high power created you as.
Yes.
We are meant to be peaceful. We're meant to be
Hmm.
full of love, success, light, peace, groundedness. But unfortunately, the world that we live in teaches us to do the opposite.
Yeah.
And
So,
so, yeah, go for
no, no,
it.
no. I was going to say something about the importance, the value of coming to the place where you can speak what's true for you.
Hmm. Yeah,
That's something I know that you highlight.
it's huge because again, it goes back to women. I didn't have a voice growing up. So it was strange. I grew up in an environment where I want you to be independent and successful. Have a voice, but don't talk too much. Do this, but
Ah.
don't do too much. So it's like, who do you want me to be?
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
And I know within my culture, particularly, there's a whole like good girl energy, and even in society, there's a lot of this good girl energy. So how could you speak your voice if society's telling you not to raise your voice? So it was
Oof.
really about doing the deeper work and saying, why can't I have a voice? Just because a voice doesn't make me a bad person.
Hmm. Hmm. So
And women,
how did you come to the place where you are right now then?
like I said, did the deeper work, went through the layers. Then I started to speak my truth. So my truth I put is under like the field of boundaries. So when I work with my clients, it's like the boundaries. So even with them, they might be afraid to tell someone the truth or
Hmm.
something that somebody they want to hold a boundary with. And so with me, I remember like sharing a boundary with somebody and I was so afraid. Oh my God, what will they think if I say this? And some of them reacted funny
Hmm.
because obviously they're used to girls just giving so much. And then others were like, okay. And the more I did it, the easier it got. Then I just started speaking my truth, saying what I feel, what is right, trusting what was right for me.
Yeah.
But it's years of practice. It's not happened.
No, no.
Yeah. It was
But
just again,
what shifted in you? What did you notice? Not so much just like your ability
hmm,
to create boundaries or to speak boundaries, but I'm sensing that it had great impact on every aspect of your life.
Oh, 100%. I didn't realize at the time why I studied journalism. Now I understand because I didn't have a voice. I was looking for a voice.
Oh.
Think about journalism's communication,
Mm-hmm.
conversations. I was in the medical journalism world. I was sharing facts and, statistics, etc., you name it.
Mm-hmm.
But I still didn't have a voice. I thought I would have a voice in that industry, but I was searching for a voice that couldn't be there. So the only voice I could come to is myself. And the only person that could give me that is myself.
Yeah. And as you came to that, then what unfolded for you?
Oh God, so many things. The more I started speaking my truth, the more I met the right people. I let go of certain situations. It led me on a path of just trusting myself more because as I was speaking my truth, the universe was like, here we go, I'll give you this. Here you go, I'll give you that.
Mm-hmm.
It helped me to love myself more because I was able to hold boundaries again and respect my time and my energy. It it set me free. It actually did. It set me free. Speaking my voice set me free to be who I was allowed to be. I didn't,
Mm.
I didn't need to seek anything from anybody anymore because I could trust in this voice of mine that it's okay, it's safe to speak my truth, it's
Mm-hmm.
safe to be heard, it's safe to be understood, and I don't need to prove anything to anybody.
Yeah. And it sounds like it's safe to have your own voice, even if someone doesn't like it.
100%.
Yeah.
We can't. I feel like as women, we've been given this nurturing energy, but then
Mm-hmm.
there's like people who are empaths, and I'm quite highly sensitive, so I'm an empath. And we feel like we need to nurture everyone, make sure their emotions are okay, and
Mm-hmm.
forget our
Mm-hmm.
needs. But who says you're allowed to have your own needs?
Yeah.
Who told you that you can't do this? Society. That's again, it's going back to the layers, it's going back
Mm-hmm.
to the patternings, the conditioning,
Yeah.
looking at where that conditioning, who said you couldn't have a voice? Oh, well, it was a teacher who told me off for being too loud. Oh, it was so and so that told me that. It doesn't have to be huge. It could be one tiny thing that
Right.
happened
Right.
that
That,
spiralized. Yeah.
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know,
And that
oh,
becomes this seed in us that grows unbeknownst in a way to our own awareness.
yeah. Yeah. And I think when, as you're saying that, it's made me realize about something. I've just remembered something from my childhood. Like I remember there was a situation in school. I've always been the one to speak my truth, but it would always be when it was injustice back then.
Ah.
I wouldn't speak it in general, but if somebody was to say, you did this and I hadn't done it, then I would speak up. So there was a situation where I thought she was my friend, but she tried to blame me for skiving school and writing her letters for her when she'd done it herself. My tutor had a go at me and said, you have a habit of signing letters. And I'm like, well, what are you talking about? And she shouted at me in front of the whole classroom, and I was so confused. And a friend of mine who was friends with both of us said, oh, she told me she was going to do that. So I took her to the headmaster with me and said, look, this is what's happened. My tutor did this to me. Can you have a word? And then my tutor apologized to me and said, sorry, I should have asked you first. And I'm like, damn right. So that's the only time my voice, I know, I was thinking it's quite fiery for a 13-year-old when I look back. My gosh. But I would stand up for truth,
Yes.
justice,
Yes.
but I wouldn't stand up for myself all the time. So it's interesting that I
Hmm.
was doing that. I didn't realize that until as we're just talking about it now. I'm like, oh, there was pockets of it.
Yeah. And it feels like that was a foundational piece of you that
Mm.
maybe if it hadn't been there, you wouldn't be on this particular journey.
Oh yeah, 100%, 100%.
Yeah.
I thank everything that happened on my journey because I
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't be who I am. Even the health conditions I had back,
Mm-hmm.
many years ago, they led me on this path of on a deeper inner peace, if I'm honest with you, because I couldn't run away from the trauma or the pain or the patterns that I had.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I had to face them.
Yeah. Because
Yeah.
it sounds like truth was more important than anything else.
Yeah. Truth to have a voice, truth to speak what felt right, to the truth to be myself was more important than anything else. And I
Mm-hmm.
think when I look back, I was always constantly fighting to be myself.
Hmm.
Family, external people, I just felt like I wasn't understood.
Uh-huh.
And therefore I had to fight to be myself. And it shouldn't have been that hard way. There was basic things, but I guess that started that trajectory of my life of seeking justice, seeking the truth,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
journalism, looking for facts.
Yeah, but also your name being the warrior and the warrior for truth.
Ugh, it's always been there. It's, yeah,
I
yeah.
think that's a place that you and I have together or in common,
Ooh.
I did some work, mm, gosh, maybe 10 years, maybe not 10 years, but maybe 10 years ago, that we were looking at what our original medicine is.
Yeah.
And the phrasing that came for me was about being an invitation to truth.
Ooh. I feel that. Wow. Yeah.
And that even in my relationships, I don't care about being right, but I do
Mm.
care about feeling the truth. And my
Mhm.
body relaxes when there's truth. And
Would you
it
say that
doesn't
a lot?
relax until there is truth in whatever I've
Mm.
become aware of, whatever's been said, that there has to be that from, then my body goes, yes.
Oh. So I'm just curious, is that linked to childhood? So was there truth being hidden when you were growing up or something,
It
which made you feel
wasn't
uncomfortable?
acknowledged. It wasn't so much hidden, but it wasn't acknowledged.
It was more like you
And
had to be quiet and not speak your truth.
right, right. Or just even, as a younger person, it wasn't in the mix.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But I think that, when I think about women in general, there's a lot we've had to fight for truth,
Truly,
just to be ourselves
just to be
in a
ourselves.
in a world that does not understand that, which I don't see what
Well, and
makes.
I feel like what is changing right now in a big, big, big way.
Yeah.
And before we began the podcast today, you had said something about the shedding the old ways, this time right now, shedding the old ways, where truth becomes so important.
Yeah, I don't know if you feel it, but I feel like this year has been a very crazy, powerful, transformational, scary, shocking year that there's been so
Mhm,
much shedding happening. The truth is being revealed, about we were saying about celebrities and other people, individuals,
mhm,
and even ourselves. Like, what is it we want to create in the world now? There's all that as well that's happening to a lot of people, not just in the coaching world, in all career paths. I feel
mhm.
there's a massive shift. Like, what is our truth that we want to share with the world?
Yeah.
And I feel the new year is about being in that truth of our real identity, but the next stages of who we are. Like, I
Mhm.
think we were on the surface level, now we're going to a higher level. And
Yes.
that's the medicine that's going to come out into the world. That's what I pick up. And I can notice you've got the horse image at the back, the
That's
portrait.
true.
It's the year of the horse. I only realized that after we started
Yeah,
the podcast. I went,
no
oh,
one's noticed it and I haven't thought about it.
yeah,
Absolutely.
you're ready. Look, it's fire
I'm
horse. It's
ready.
ready.
I
It's
am ready.
charging. So let's go
And
with the
it's got a
truth.
feeling of fire to it.
Yeah. And, the hair is like free. And
Hmm.
it's about, that is about being in our truth, but also for you being in your truth, right? Like
Yes.
I can see it both.
Hmm.
And I really feel that now more than ever, like we shouldn't be afraid to be in our truth and be in our authentic selves because when we are in that, it's so much peace, it's so much joyful. You don't have to
Mm.
pretend to be something you're not. You can
Hmm.
just be at home with yourself. That's what I believe truth is. It's being able to just be you with no
Hmm.
limitations, which creates that inner peace.
Hmm. Yes, that's beautiful.
Yeah, yeah.
Gertz, how can people find out more about you and your work and what you're up to?
Sure, you can find me at www.gurdshundal.com. So that's GURDSHUNDAL. You can find me on my podcast, which is the Inner Light Projects. You can find me on Instagram at I am Gurds, on social media everywhere. If you just Google my name, if I'm honest, it will come up with everything. I'm around. You
And
can
all of
find
that will
me.
be in the show notes too, but I love
Yeah,
having it
thank you.
also in the recording itself. So
Yeah, yeah. I'm here. If you need my help, I'm here.
I'm so glad we got to be together again today.
Thank you. Yeah, same. This is a
Yeah.
very interesting conversation. Even I'm like, oh, where did we go?
We'll keep going. We'll keep going.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm. So thank you. Thank you again for being here.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I want to thank our listeners, our viewers, because we're podcast, we're video on YouTube, but for being with us today at Wisdom Talk Radio. Remember, you can join us here regularly for more wisdom, discovery, and illumination. And we're, on all the platforms. So wherever you've discovered this, please leave us a review because that helps, other people bring their eyes to it. It helps spread the transformation that this show is really about. And for yourself, for more about your own self-discovery, your own personal quantum connection, go over to the Baca Institute and take the Quantum Connection quiz. And then you can pick up a copy of Unconditional Remembrance, Your Connection to Source, wherever you buy your books. And we'll see you next time.
Thanks for joining us here at Wisdom Talk Radio. We wish you well in your conscious explorations. For more information and to join in the conversation, our website is wisdomtalkradio.com or at Wisdom Talk Radio on Facebook.